Chris is muted, but can you unmute? Okay. Michael Hyman's working. Sam, your audio was working earlier. I can't hear Sam. I don't know. They're live? Okay, so they are on TV. Okay. Just to let everybody know that TV 18 has started, so they are streaming whatever's audio is happening, so just beware.
Okay, do we wait for Sam's audio?
If we can. He was on a few minutes ago and it was working fine.
I sometimes lose audio by not realizing my computer is muted as opposed to the Zoom contact.
Yeah. Now we got you.
You got me?
Yeah.
Got you.
Okay.
I don't know what.
All right.
Okay.
Help is on the way.
We will call to order the Zoning Board of Appeals meeting for May of 2020. And we have the secretary call a roll.
James Carmen,
Here.
Christopher Hagan,
Here.
Malika Barlow,
Present.
Christopher Kemmerer,
Present.
Michael Hyman,
Present.
Michael Wood,
Present.
Alfred Fields.
Present.
Okay, could we stand for the pledge to flag?
Anybody have an extra flag?
Oh,
Yep,
John's
I'm
take
put-
care of that.
I'm putting it up. Just 1 second. There we go.
Nicely done.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
America. And
to the republic for which it stands,
one
nation, under God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with
liberty,
liberty and
justice
justice
for
for
all.
all.
Now we have the minutes of the April 2nd meeting. Does everybody have them? I hope, I wish.
Yes.
Yes,
Everybody read them?
yes.
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 So is there a motion to approve?
I move approval of the minutes of the April Zoning Board of Appeals hearing.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All those
Aye.
opposed? So ordered. Do we have remarks from zoning staff?
I don't have anything other than, most importantly, to say thank you. Thank you for your patience. We're all learning as we go along, so it's exciting to see that we're able to hold these public hearings, include public participation, and move forward with business as usual as we can, given the current circumstances. So thank you all for your time, your patience, and your willingness to work with us and moving forward. Obviously, don't hesitate to reach out if you come across any issues with receiving the packet electronically or the Zoom meeting atmosphere and so forth. We're certainly here to help, and we recognize that you're volunteering your time to have the applicants proceed with their applications and again, try and move forward with business as best we can. So nothing other than that. Again, thank you so much for your time and your volunteer efforts.
John, can I ask a question, Mr. Chairman?
Yes?
Thank you. Mike Hyman. I don't know if you can see me, but I've got the packet open. Is there a way we can do a split screen so that, because we won't be able to, I won't be able to, if I stay in the packet, I won't be able to see the presentation. Is that correct?
Correct. You should be able to take Zoom out of full screen and
Okay.
it'll actually make it a smaller window.
Okay.
You could have two separate windows open on your one monitor.
All right. Let me then Can you,
It is full screen. You may hit escape, I think, and it'll take it out.
let's see. Okay. I, Okay, well, I'm back to a Zoom screen without anyone's pictures when I went off to open the packet. And I need to get back into the Zoom meeting before I can do that. Let me see.
What device are you on?
I'm on my laptop.
You're in the meeting, we can all see you.
Yeah,
You
we
can
can all
see
see
me?
you. Yeah, we can all see you.
Do
So.
do I have to put my clothes back on then? Is that what you're telling me? Oh, come on, guys. Jeez.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy to work through. We can test it after this meeting.
Okay. Well, I guess the question is, how do I get back to the meeting? Let me just,
Is
There
there
should be
camera on the
in
bottom
your
of the
task-
screen?
Yeah, in your
Bottom-
taskbar, there should be an option to hit Zoom again.
got it. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Yes. Good for now. Thanks.
Okay. Remarks from the chairperson. I have a script to read. Statement from the board chair. Pursuant to Executive Order Number 20-69, issued by the Office of the Governor, Ron DeSantis, on March 20th, 2020, and Mayor Keith A. James, Executive Order Number 2020-05, issued on April 2nd, 2020. The City of West Palm Beach's boards and committees are conducting meetings through media technology and have released the requirements to have a quorum of its members physically present at City Hall. On April 14th, 2020, Mayor Keith A. James issued Executive Order Number 2020-09, which specifically provides the rules of procedure for conducting city meetings, including requirements for quasi-judicial hearings. To ensure the ability for the public to continue to participate in this public hearing, it is being streamed live and available for viewing in the City Commission chambers located at City Center, 401 Clematis Street, provided that social distancing is required. Additionally, for those wishing to access the meeting remotely, they are able to do so directly through the applicable Zoom webinar link, as well as the city's usual media channels, including WPB-TV 18, the city's website, and the city's YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter feeds. Anyone from the public who would like to provide comment on an agenda item is able to do so through the following. 1, in the City Center Flagler Gallery. 2, by dialing 561-320-6482 and leaving a voicemail not to exceed 3 minutes. 3, by sending an email or video recording to zbapubliccomment@wpb.org or by completing the online public comment format at www.wpb.org/public comments. Those accessing the meeting directly through Zoom may also use the chat or raise hand features. Anyone accessing just the Zoom audio using their phone may raise their hand by pressing *9. Regardless of method, please be sure to indicate the agenda number and or case number for which you are providing comment. Everyone providing testimony must have video capability and will need to be sworn in. The swearing in will occur at the start of each case on the agenda. If you are about to provide such testimony and were not sworn in, please be sure to indicate such and be sworn before offering your testimony. After the applicant presents their case, staff will provide a presentation, and then the public will have the opportunity to speak and have their comments read into the record for previously recorded correspondence. The board will then go into executive session. Prior to rendering a decision, the board will confirm no additional public comments have been received by staff. For the members of the board, it is emphasized that Florida sunshine laws are applicable, and you may not use the chat feature or any other form of individual communications to discuss matters with other board members, the applicant, or general public during the meeting. Okay, are there any declarations of ex parte communications?
No.
Yes, this is Chris Hagan. On Tuesday, May 5th, I had a phone conversation with the applicant for, case number 3383. It was the agent on behalf of the applicant The nature of the conversation was really just to provide background on the case itself. It will not affect my ability to render a decision today based solely on the competent substantial evidence presented in our board packet and testimony we hear today.
Anyone else?
Alfred Fields, no ex parte communication.
Chris Cameron, no ex parte communications.
Malika Barlow, no ex parte communications.
Mike Hyman, no ex parte communications.
Michael Wood, no ex parte communications.
And I likewise have had no ex parte communications. That being said, we could start with the first case and swearing in of the people to testify.
Yes, just give me 1 minute and I will bring in applicant and staff for the first item. Perfect. Hope, when you're ready.
Okay, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give today is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals case number 3380, a request by Mark Elawadi and Elva Birchhead for a variance from section 94-72 A2A and D of the city's zonings and land development regulations for front and side yard setbacks for a residential lot. The approximately 0.019 acre property is located at 224 Churchill Road within Commission District Number 5, Commissioner Christina Lambert.
Hi, good afternoon. For the record, my name is Elena Wooten, planner representing the staff in the Zoning Board of Appeals case 3380.
This is Malika, chairperson. Does the applicant go first before the staff?
That's correct.
Correct.
Elena,
Would you mind if the applicant goes first?
Sure, yes, I'm sorry. I'll stop the share. Yes.
sir, you'll need to unmute yourself before. Or here, let's see if I can do it.
Okay,
Can you, there we go.
I see it now. Thank you.
Okay, now we got you.
But just would like to understand what the expectations are in terms of presenting. They would like to get an overview of what we are asking for in short. I'm asking a question.
Please, sir.
She said, please. Go ahead.
Please, sir.
Okay. Go ahead.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Our request for a variance is so that we can extend our house by 730 square feet and make it our permanent home. The variance would be 264 square feet. The 730 square feet will encompass a new one-car garage, a new additional bedroom and bath, and an enlargement of the current second bedroom. The house is currently 1,775 square feet with no garage. It's a one-story home with 3 bedrooms, 2 of which are small, and 2 baths. It will remain a one-story home, but with 3 bedrooms and 3 bathrooms, plus a one-car garage. This additional square footage will go along the east side of the house, where there is currently an open, paved, unused space, and a north extension on the northeast side of the house in order to expand the size of that second bedroom. The east front extension would then align with the west side extension, which was added by a previous owner in 2013 and which was permitted and approved by the city. This will give the property a very nice balanced look without it feeling too large for the lot. As you can see from the attached drawing, it will complete the house in a very attractive way. I don't know how much I should cover. Should I go
Do you
on?
have the drawings before you, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, we do, sir.
Okay,
Okay.
it is this one that I'd like to draw your attention to, which basically depicts on top of the drawing, it depicts the old front facade. Underneath it, in the new colored one, will depict the changes that are gonna occur. And basically, if you're looking at the form in front of you, you would see the change is gonna be in this room where it shows one window is gonna become, I think it's 2 or 3 windows, and then the garage will go next to it instead of the empty space that is being there since the house was done and on the east side, and it provides no real value to utilize it.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, could staff put up the drawing that's being
Yeah.
on the screen for us?
Are you asking me to show it on the screen?
No, sir, asking staff to.
I
don't-
don't have it
I
in
see
a
that
soft.
one. That's not included in your packet.
Not,
It's
we
not.
have different vote.
I
Yeah.
have,
Architect's drawing.
There's the architect
It's a
schematic
rendering. It's a rendering.
looks in which would then, that's the change from the top to the bottom.
it's in the supplemental packet.
It's in the supplemental packet.
Well, let me see if I can bring it up.
Talking about this packet.
What? I don't know.
I don't know, Elana, what supplemental packet really means.
Hold on one second. Let me see if I can get it. It's the rendering that you're looking at?
Yes, it is this rendering.
Yeah, I don't see that in the submittal. All I see is the architectural plans.
In the email that we received, we had the book, but then in addition, there was a file of supplemental materials for this application. It had 4 items in it, including neighbor letters and support. And this diagram that's being shown was part of that. It's like the second or third.
Yes, sir. It was part of the package that went to the owners, the neighbors, sorry, to show them what are the changes are going to be. If you would like me to get that out to Ms. Witten or Miss anyone, I think you have that.
We have submitted it.
We've submitted all this, so in case you say, and then we will submit it again, if you want.
Yeah, I have in here the site plan, the floor plans, the roof, the elevations that are not color. And that is it. I don't see a color rendering.
Okay, we make a note of that. We will get that. How do we submit the additional things that are gonna come up today?
I see. It was included in the letters of support. Hold on one second.
Yes, it was. It's in there.
Is it this one?
No.
No, these
No.
are pictures of
These
the.
are
That's the
the
only-
pictures of the exact,
It's a folder of letter of support for neighbors.
That's the only color one.
yeah,
that-
that's
That's
the,
it.
that is the one that shows before and
Here it is.
after. Thank you very much.
And it went to the neighbors just to show them what they can expect once we're done. That is
Okay.
the final result.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you very much. So with that said, we don't intend to make any, forgive the expression, ugly changes that would, either hurt our own home or makes it unpleasant for our neighbors and our community. We pride ourselves of being very conforming to all the rules and regulations because we're part of a society. So that is the change. No other changes are gonna happen to the house in terms of landscaping, zero change. There may be a couple of plants to be changed on the front once the garage has been put there. And of course, we will do whatever we need to do to beautify the front of the house, including the facade. The color will remain the same, clean white with gray bluish window treatment.
Alana, do you want me to go on and cover the background of the previous owner, or this is sufficient now?
No, we appreciate that, the offer. Not necessary.
Okay.
All in all, really, what we are asking your kindness is allowing us to have the space so we can have our family join us and we can leave Washington, D.C.
Now, why would you want to leave Washington, D.C.?
I don't want to get into politics.
Don't go there.
See what you can do to get him out of the neighborhood, whatever.
Shush.
Okay, it looks like, Mr. Carmen, are you there?
Sure.
It looks like we may have lost Mr. Carmen.
Oh, yes.
If that's the case, Chris, can you kind of take over as chair till we get him back?
Yes, I'm fine doing that. If I think at this time we can ask if the board members have any questions for the applicant, but it may be useful for us to hear the presentation from staff. But we can go down the list. I'll start off with board member Barlow. Do you have any questions for the applicant before we go to staff?
Questions.
Okay.
No,
Board member
thank you.
Kimmerer,
No questions.
board member Hyman.
No questions for the applicant.
Okay. Mr. Wood
No questions.
and Mr. Fields.
No question.
Okay, I have no questions. So let's go to Ms. Wooten for the staff presentation.
Okay, good afternoon.
Hello.
For the record, my name is Elena Wooten and I'm a planner representing staff in the Zoning Board of Appeals case 3380 for variances from the front and side yard setbacks of section 9472A through A and D of the city's zoning and land development regulations in a residential lot to allow an addition to be built with an 18.08 front setback or 25 feet is required and a total of 11.53 feet side setbacks or a total of 15 is required by code. Okay. This is the subject property. It is zone SF7. It is surrounded by other residential single-family homes. Sorry, computer's a little lagged. Okay, so just a little background of this case. This single-family home was built in 1949 in the Bell Terry subdivision. The previous owners modified the design of the home, expanding it on the west side, adding a bathroom to the master suite. This addition was done with an erroneous survey in 2013 with a front setback of 18 feet, and it was approved by the city and permitted. As the applicant's justification letter states, in 2017, the applicant submitted building plans for an addition on the east side of the home, similar to the addition done in 2013 on the west side with the same front setbacks. After submitting for building permits for the proposed addition on the east side, the incorrect survey was discovered during the zoning review. Currently, the applicants spend most of their time in their home in Virginia. They would like to construct this addition to make this home more suitable for their current health conditions and growing family and make West Palm Beach their permanent residence. The applicants would like to fashion an addition that would expand their existing guest bedrooms, add a new guest bedroom, bathroom, and a one-car garage for their family. So the request, what they're asking for today for a variance is for 18 feet for the front setback, where 25 feet is required by code, and a total of 11.58 for the side setbacks, where the code requires them to total up to 15 feet. So this is a survey of the property showing accurately all of the setbacks. And I believe this was in your package as well. This is a picture of the front elevation of the existing home. And this is a close-up of the location of the proposed addition on the east side. This is the site plan. On the left, you'll see it's an existing site plan, and on the right is the proposed site plan with the addition. This is the video. So it's showing the front elevation on Churchill and the existing driveway and the location of the proposed addition and a panoramic view of the surrounding areas. As the applicant stated, the design of the addition will blend in with the overall design of the home. The residential development area in this area has a recessed property line that extends at least 24 feet back from the road, so if you're driving along Churchill Road, it's unnoticeable that the buildings encroach into the front yard setback. And further, on the east side, the applicants could have gone as close as 5 feet to the east property line by code, and they're only asking for 7. So there's no additional impact on the neighbors on the east side. It's staff's professional opinion that the requested variance does satisfy all of the variance standards found within section 9438D6 of the city zoning and land development regulations. Staff recommends approval for the variance request to permit an addition on the east side of their property with a front setback of 18.8 feet and side setbacks totaling 11.58 feet on a residential lot. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have. The applicant will as well.
Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, is Mr. Carmen back?
He was for a second, and then he disappeared again.
Mr. Vice Chairman.
Okay, yeah, I'll keep going. Yes, Mr. Hyman.
Thank you. Alana, the picture showing depicting the carport on the east side up against the property line, I imagine, to the north. What's the current setback of that, or where is that sitting? It's hard to tell because there are no sidewalks or what is the current setback of that?
Hold on one second, hold on one second. I'm sorry, I have to get the big plans. On that side, it's at least 23 feet on the east side, existing.
And Ms. Wooten, I think the question is, you know, it's not really shown. Yeah, that covered canvas area. It looks like, and Mr. Hyman, I was trying to read that as well. It looks like the front columns for that, I think, are right on the property line.
On the property line, right.
If I was reading that correctly, and I had a hard time kind of reading that off the survey, but that's what it looked like to me.
Yeah, it looks like they have what do you call them, like foot walls? So that's like a small wall or fence what you see.
Okay, well, I guess it's deceptive because I thought that the property line is located where it is, and the carport, for all intent and purposes, on the front of the property is set on the property line. It's my understanding that that's going to be removed.
Yes.
And the building will not encroach as much on the front setback. You're telling me it's going to be 18 feet from that line going to the south. Is that correct?
Yes, it's going to match the addition on the west side.
Okay. Yeah, John, that helps to do that. And I don't have my book downloaded. Thank you very much. Okay. So in black is the area that's going to be added.
Yes.
I see that. Okay. All right. The only other question I have for staff is what is, and this gets to be a sticky wicket, but what is the justification relative to self-imposed on the hardship? What is the hardship here?
Well, the hardship is a number of things. It's a combination of the applicant coming in. They, through all intents and purposes, thought that the addition on the west side was permitted and okay. So they were coming in to match that on the other side. They have some existing healthcare conditions, and they are trying to outfit their home for their expanding family and relocating in West Palm Beach. So it's a combination of those things that create a hardship.
Okay. To the applicant, please understand that we have to look at certain things, and there's the criteria that we have to use in order to grant the variance. So I'm sort of stuck on that. I'm not the only person voting, and it's not necessarily one issue that will deny this. So I just needed to ask these questions. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Board Member Hyman. We'll now go to Board Member Kammerer if you have any questions.
No, I don't.
Okay. We'll go to Board Member Barlow. Any questions for staff?
No questions. Thank you.
Okay. We'll go to First Alternate Wood.
No questions.
Okay. And Second Alternate Fields.
No questions.
Okay. I don't believe I have any questions for staff. And thank you, Mr. Hyman. Board Member Hyman, I had kind of a similar question trying to confirm the location of the existing carport, which almost serves like an existing structure on site. If there are no further questions for staff, I think then we see if is there any public comment. So we'll open the public hearing.
Mr. Vice Chair, we have not received any public comment yet.
Okay. And then if there's no further public comment, we'll go ahead and close the public comment period and take it back to the board for executive session. So with that, I'll go to back to Board Member Hyman if you have further comments before we make a motion.
Only one. The letters received were all in support. Were there any negative letters opposing this variance? Staff?
No, everything was in support.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
No further questions, Mr. Vice Chair. Thank you.
Okay. Again, back here for executive session. Any comments, Board Member Kammerer?
No, I think the combination, including, I'm glad to see that the neighbors were consulted and had an opportunity to review the proposal, and I don't see there were no objections to it.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Further comments, Board Member Barlow?
No, I agree with that. And the fact that it's, the fact that the other extension, the earlier one was done where, they're aligning with that and that was approved, whether rightly or wrongly, but that's where they're at right now. So I'm in support of this variance.
Okay. It looks like we've got our chair back. Mr. Carmen, you there?
No sound.
Here's we don't
Okay.
have audio.
Okay. I'll go to first alternate Wood. Any comments for executive session here?
My only comment would be that while I don't necessarily agree that the previous erroneous information rises to the level of a hardship, I do believe that the improvement to the house is very nice, and I think it fits with the neighborhood very nicely, and I would be in support of the project.
Okay. And then second alternate Fields, comments for executive session?
No additional comments.
Okay. I'll try Mr. Carmen again. Chair Carmen, any audio? Okay.
Looks like they're working on it.
Yeah. And my comments are, I agree. I think
Can I
that.
add one thing?
Yes.
Vice
Yeah.
Chair, I hope that the others will consider, in light of Mr. Wood's comment, that a lot of individuals in various circumstances in the legal field, they call it detrimental reliance, where you rely on certain representations to your detriment. So I believe that at the time, if they believe this was permitted and part of their survey, then that prior extension that was made, again, was compliant. So them just aligning the other side of the house with the same setback that was previously approved, again, I would think it'd be very reasonable in a hardship now that they had relied on that to their detriment. So again, I do hope that board members consider, voting in favor of what's before us today.
I agree with you.
Yes.
Oh,
Yeah.
You didn't have to agree. I just wanted to make sure others would consider the other side. Thank you.
Well, I think that was well put, well stated, Board Member Barlow. I think I had a similar line of thinking where it is a little difficult to I think in a vacuum to say, well, how is that not a self-imposed hardship? But it is, again, you're relying on a professional that's been hired to provide accurate information, and you've gone down a road. And in fact, I would say by the original plans being approved with that addition where it is, it's almost as if on a de facto basis that a front yard setback was already granted. It wasn't officially granted, but it was because those plans were approved. And so the variance that's being sought here is no different than what has, again, already in a de facto basis being approved, because they're not proposing that this extend further into the front yard setback. It's aligned with the same plane that was approved on those previous plans. So again, it's consistent with again, kind of what a de facto approval that was already given. and I also look at the current condition, and even though the carport that's there is not a enclosed structure, visually, it's a structure on the property that, again, I feel like gives the visual impression of a building when you look at it. And so the fact that this addition is then kind of stepping this back and taking what's, visually looks almost like a building on the property line and moving it 18 feet into the property sort of rectifies a condition that exists today. So I have no further further comment, and I'll go back one last time to Chair Carmen to see if we have audio. Chair Carmen, are you able to speak?
Mr. Carmen,
He can hear you.
I see you're calling in. Did you call in from 478? A 478 number? You can shake your head if that's you. Okay.
Okay.
Hey,
There we go.
Hey, welcome back.
This is embarrassing. I apologize.
No problem. So we're in executive session. We went through, and you probably heard that. So we'll turn it back over to you for your thoughts, and then you can then take over and call the motion.
Well, I missed almost all of the presentation.
Okay.
So, Chris, if you could finish this item, I would appreciate it.
Sure. Do you have anything to add then, or since you didn't see the
No,
presentation?
I only saw that they wanted the addition, and that's when my computer went out.
Okay. So, and I think what we'll probably do then is if you don't feel that it's appropriate to vote on this item because you weren't there for the presentation, then we'll have first alternate Wood be a voting member on this item in lieu of you. Okay.
Correct. That's fine.
So then again, alternate Wood, you'll be a voting member on this when we call the roll. So at this point, if there's no further comment on executive session, then I'd entertain a motion on this item.
I'll make the motion. I move that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant application number 3380, a request by Mark Elawati and Elva Berghead for variances from the front and side setback requirements of section 94-72A2A and D of the city's zoning and land development regulations in a residential lot to allow an addition to be built with an 18.08 foot front setback where 25 feet is required, a total of 11.53 feet side setback, where a total of 15 feet is required by code for a residential lot. The motion is based upon the testimony presented along with the application submitted and staff report, which constitute competent and substantial evidence. The board hereby makes findings of fact that each of the criteria in Article 2, Section 94-38D6 for the city of West Palm Beach, the zoning and land development regulations have been met.
I'll second the motion.
Okay. We have a motion made by Board Member Kammerer and a second made by first alternate Wood. I'll turn it over to our board secretary to please call the roll.
Understanding that James Carmen was out for most of the presentation, Christopher Hagan,
Aye.
Malika Barlow,
Aye.
Christopher Kammerer,
Aye.
Michael Hyman,
Aye.
Michael Wood,
Aye.
Alfred Fields.
Not voting.
Yeah, I believe we have the 5 members that were myself, Mr. Kammerer, Mr. Hyman, Ms. Barlow, and Mr. Wood are the voting members on this item. With that, this motion carries 5-0.
Congratulations.
Yes, I'll turn it back over to our chair.
Mr. Chair, I think he's got both of his devices on or not. There's a feedback coming. May want to come off of one of them. I don't.
I muted the computer, so you should only have the phone coming through. So I think he's good.
Good deal. Thanks.
Okay. So That concludes the first item. I will bring in the members for, or excuse me, the applicant and staff for the second item. If you just give me 1 minute. Okay, that should be everybody for the next case. Just a word of advice, if you can mute yourself until it's your turn to speak, then you can unmute. That would be greatly appreciated. And with that, I will turn it over back to Mr. Carmen.
Okay, and we're ready for the second case. Zoning Board of Appeals case number 3383.
Would everyone wishing to speak raise your right hand to be sworn in? Unmute yourselves so that I can hear your yeses. Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
I do.
Thank you. Zoning Board of Appeals case number 3383, a request by Juan Carlos of SDP, Palm Beach Lakes LLC, on behalf of 1125 Palm Beach Lakes Land Trust, or Sally LLC Trust, for a variance from the landscape buffer planting requirements along the eastern property line. The approximately 1.6 acre site is located at 1225 Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard within Commission District Number 1, Commissioner Kelly Shove.
Okay, Mr. Hoyer.
Good afternoon, everyone. I hope everyone is safe and healthy. And we have the entire team on the call. We have the property owner, the land planner, engineer, the landscape architect. So should you have any questions, I think we have everyone on the telephone. I'm going to ask staff if, Rafaela, can you put our presentation up on the screen, please?
Yes.
The subject address is 1225 Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. If we go to the next slide, please, I can orient you to the part of the city. The intersection of Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard and Australian Avenue, it's at the northeast corner behind what used to be a Walgreens that is now defunct, and I think it's a hair salon or hair supply store, if I recall correctly. So it is the parcels just to the east of it. Next slide, please. Our request before you today is for a non-residential variance from the requirements of section 94-443 to eliminate the required 5-foot landscape buffer and planting requirement along the eastern property line. Next slide, please. The next two slides here will illustrate what the issue is. Years ago, the property owner to the east, which is the one labeled D, as in Delta, existing retail, 6,923 square feet. That is an existing Advance Auto Parts store. That property and our subject property, which is the site plan you see to your left, proposed buildings A, B, and C. And by the way, you're not reviewing the site plan today. That's just a staff level review, but what you are reviewing is the variance request. So going back years ago, the property owners entered into a cross-access and parking agreement, and it's a recorded document, and it allows the Advance Auto Parts in D to utilize parking that is on my client, the applicant's property, and vice versa. And they share a drive aisle out into 13th Street, which is the public street to the north. And that's the current condition. And so what you're seeing here is the proposed site plan of how the existing Advanced Auto Parts on the right will interact with the proposed site plan of 2 fast food restaurants and another retail building, continuing to share the existing drive aisle and continuing to share the existing parking as they have for years pursuant to that cross parking and access agreement. So next slide, please. This is a slightly different visual. This is actually a survey of the lots. So you can see historically what happened. Lots 9 and 10 were combined. Advanced Auto Parts was built. That property owner is the one that entered into the recorded agreement with the owner of the lots to the west, which my client owns. And that obligates both parties to share parking and share this drive aisle. So not a problem, but for the fact that the code requires a 5-foot landscape buffer between different property owners, and here we have different property owners. So we would need to put 5 feet of landscaping right down the middle of the drive aisle, bisecting the shared parking if we were to abide by the code. And that's where we're seeking the variance. Next slide, please. And I can come back to any of these if you have questions. That's fine that we went to, there we go. So the benefits of our request is we retain the existing uninterrupted drive aisle that serves both the subject site and the adjacent property to the east, the Advanced Auto Parts, and it makes the site function more efficiently. Otherwise, we'd both have to put in our own drive aisles. Both of us put in 5 feet of landscape buffer. Both of us meet a parking requirement that neither property can meet. So the value to the public of the 5 feet of landscaping we've retained by moving the equivalent amount of landscaping to other locations on our property as mitigation. So 8 shade trees and a hedge were required. We have relocated those on the property. They are in addition to all of our other landscape requirements. It's not in lieu of other landscape requirements. So the same amount of green space is being replaced. Additionally, if you look at the third bullet point in the summary, we have agreed to replace royal palms on the frontage on Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, which is not our responsibility, but there are several dead ones. As you know, Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard is lined by what are generally beautiful royal palms that really distinguish the road and make it look better. Several have died, and we've agreed to pay to replace those and maintain those going forward. That's in a county road right of way. So I guess you could call that additional mitigation that we volunteered to do. And quite frankly, bullet point number 4, there is no other solution because both of these properties are bound by the terms of this agreement. So, I guess if you denied the variance, we're all stuck because we have a private contractual agreement to do this. Fortunately, our neighbor, Advanced Auto Parts, completely endorses this idea. We've submitted the letter of endorsement with our package. There's no discernible detriment to the public, and staff recommends approval. So with that, I guess I have another slide or two in here that I should show you. It illustrates where we've moved the landscaping to, so you can see where the 8 mitigated shade trees and hedge have been relocated on the property, simply getting it out of that cross-access easement. And then the final 2 slides are indicating that we meet all of the requirements for the granting of a variance, which are outlined in section 9438D6. I'm happy to go through these with you individually, but we believe we meet them and staff agrees with us. Those are the standards by which you review, of course, the granting of a variance. And the final slide is simply reiterating our request, which is we respectfully request an approval of the elimination of the 5-foot landscape requirement in this variance. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We're delighted to answer any questions you might have.
Does any board member have any questions for Mr. Hoyer? Well, hearing none, we'll go to staff's presentation.
Good afternoon, everyone. First things first, hope I missed the swearing in.
Solemnly swear affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth and nothing but the truth. Thank you.
Okay, I will share my screen. Good afternoon, everyone. Again, for the record, my name is Rafaela Thermidor. I'm the associate planner on this project representing staff for case number 3883. I will go briefly through my presentation since the applicant made a really extensive and detailed presentation. Here we go. This is a video of what the site actually looks like. It's an abandoned site, and on the east side, you'll see the Advanced Auto Parts, with which they share the shared access parking agreement. And this is basically a summary of what the applicant is requesting. There is the required buffer location is on this side of the property. And because of the drive aisle and the shared parking agreement, it's basically impossible for both of them to be able to comply. So thus the request. This is what they're proposing. And this general staff recommendation is approval from the board based on the conditions that we have set forth. The 3 conditions that we proposed, the applicant has complied to and agreed with, which the letter of support, which I think is in your packet. If not, I can always show it to you, from Advanced Auto Parts, and the relocation of the 8 shade trees and the additional landscape throughout the site, and to replace and maintain the palm trees along Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, which were basically mitigations to accommodate and show that they are willing to work with us and better the site. I think that's it, yeah.
Are there any questions for staff? None? I have one question. The 4 palm trees on Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, they're the ones that are dead now that are going to be replanted by the applicant?
Yes.
I'm sorry, was the question to me or to staff?
That was for staff. I thought that was one of the conditions.
Yes, it is one of the conditions. The palm trees along Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, adjacent directly to the site, will be replanted and maintained.
Okay, those are ones that are in disrepair right now, or
Yes, yes.
Okay. Are there any comments from the public via text or email or in view?
Mr. Chair, no, we have not received any public comment.
Okay. With that, we'll go into executive session. Does any board member have any comments?
This is Chris Hagan. I'll just say, looking at the application, even if the applicant were to try to comply with this, they would end up cutting off existing parking spaces that the at the neighbor's business. I think the intent here is, usually the reason for landscape buffers is for screening and, trying, especially if you have uses that aren't directly compatible with each other. Here you've got commercial uses that flow together, use a common parking lot, and it's logical that we would just continue to allow the shared access drive and the parking on either side to remain.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question. This is Michael Wood.
Yes.
I guess this question could be to staff. Are you suggesting that the palm trees, the royal palms that are dead, that are going to be replaced, that somehow the city will be assigning maintenance in perpetuity of those particular trees? For what reason, and has that ever been done before? I own a property on Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, and I don't maintain those trees and don't want to. So can you answer that for me?
I apologize. I believe there was a question to staff.
Did you not hear anything I said?
No, the Zoom failed. I'm sorry.
Okay, so my question is, are you suggesting by the statement you made that the 3 or 4 royal palms that exist along Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard are going to be put under some kind of a maintenance program, that the owners of that property would have to maintain those in perpetuity rather than the city of West Palm Beach? Never mind.
Rafaela, did you hear the question? You're muted right now.
Well, you got to turn your own mute off if you want to talk.
I heard the first half of the question, but for some reason the connection is just not stable.
Okay, never
Okay.
mind.
Mr. Wood, I'll answer your question on behalf of staff. So we can enter into a maintenance agreement, and we have done that on multiple occasions with other projects that plant, or make improvements within the right of way. So we can enter into an agreement with the applicant that they be responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of that landscape area. If that's not clear in the condition now, you can certainly include that as part of your motion. Mr. Oyer can speak on behalf of the applicant, but it is something regularly that staff does and would be okay with as part of this application.
And my only concern about that is that then you have so many different parties taking care of the royal palms, which is really a signature for Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. That's why you have a lot of dead ones, and that's why you have a lot of live ones, because nobody knows whose responsibility it falls on. A royal palm of that size is not an inexpensive project. So I think that's a foolish way of handling something along Palm Beach Lakes or along Okeechobee or along any main entrance into the city. So I don't care about including it in a justification. I'm just trying to understand what the city is trying to get at. Less maintenance on their landscaping, or what? Inconsistent landscaping maintenance?
Normally, when we do those maintenance agreements, it's the landscaping that is installed is unique and specific to that individual project. Or, for example, the developer puts in pavers that we don't normally maintain. That's when we usually enter into those maintenance agreements. In addition to that, we look for opportunities for the developer to maintain the adjacent right-of-way, which the code does speak to a certain extent. For that exact reason of reducing the maintenance obligation on the city's behalf. Obviously, the more that gets installed, and especially when it comes to unique material, it's harder for us to provide the resources to maintain that. And the fact that it could be tied in with the adjacent development and just become part of their normal maintenance schedule, that's usually the preference.
I agree with you on everything you said, but you're talking about the royal palms that line the street all the way from Okeechobee Boulevard to wherever they end. And it's, as I said, it's a sort of, I've been here 33 years and it's a staple along that road. And certainly is a presentation, as one might say, a sort of a business card to the owners of businesses along there, which I am one. And so I just don't think it's a good idea to hack the maintenance of that up over a bunch of different owners, because they might not have the same feelings about how they should look and how they should be maintained, or even how to maintain them. So that's for another discussion, but I do understand what you're saying. Thank you.
May I address Mr. Wood's comment? We've agreed to this condition because staff asked for it, but I happen to agree with you. It's one thing to ask us to replace the trees, but I think the ongoing maintenance could be different. You know, presumably ours would be better, but it will be different. And, you know, we would certainly accept a condition that requires us to replace them but not maintain them, if that's the will of the board.
Thank
Well,
you.
just say, I kind of mentioned it before, the code does require individual property owners to maintain, including trees and palms, landscaping that is within the right of way. But that's applicable across the city. So.
Okay. Does any other board member have any comments or questions? Okay, hearing none.
I believe
Would
Malika
someone like
does.
to make a motion?
Wait,
Yes.
I believe Ms. Barlow
John,
does.
yes.
Yeah,
Thank
go
you,
ahead.
John. I've been trying to talk and I'm glad you unmuted me. I appreciate it, John. I would like to just share and ask my fellow board members to consider the following. Number one, I'm in favor of this variance, but also with respect to 2 of the 3 conditions that I'm recommending we all consider imposing that's before us. Not the first one about providing a letter of support with the adjacent property owners. They have their own contract, but these other 2, the relocation of the 8 shade trees and hedges that are required on the east buffer, that'll get relocated. But also this discussion we've had about the replacement and maintenance of the palm trees along Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard. I could be wrong, but I have a feeling that the inconsistency with the maintenance and beauty that these palm trees, and it is a signature to our city on both of these fairways, both Okeechobee and Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard, into our beautiful, wonderful city. But the inconsistency of the maintenance is probably because of limited resources at times our city has. So if we have the opportunity where we have a landowner who will agree to replace, but also keep that maintenance. And again, Mr. Wood, you know, you never would have to agree to this condition along with the city, but we have this opportunity now that I do hope that we take the opportunity that allows them to complete the maintenance and the overall look and beauty of their corner in our wonderful city as they're willing to agree to it. So if we're in support, which I am, of granting this variance, I do hope that I will get the support of imposing 2 of the 3 conditions, just number 2 and 3, on behalf of my fellow board member colleagues. You can unmute me now, John.
Are there any other comments?
Mr. Hagan does.
Just to go on along with what Board Member Barlow was saying, I wanted to go back to the comment that Mr. Roach made. My understanding is that and John, correct me if I'm wrong, are you saying it almost sounds like this condition really wasn't, other than replacing the trees, the and maintain part of the condition wasn't adding any additional obligation on behalf of the property owner? Because if you were to take that out, it's, if I understand you correctly, are you saying that it doesn't negate the fact that per code they already have an obligation to maintain it anyway?
That's correct. The zoning code currently requires the maintenance to be handled by the adjacent property owner.
Yeah.
I think the primary intent of the condition was so that they be responsible for the replacement and then continue the maintenance, which they are obligated to do regardless.
Well, why were they all dead then?
Well, that's a code enforcement issue, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Well, who owned the maintenance for it? But the code enforcement doesn't enforce the city to do its own code. So who took care of the maintenance before this change came about?
Well, and if I understand correctly, this property is currently abandoned, which probably is why it's not being maintained and why there's probably died. It sounds like it was per code, it fell under the responsibility of the previous property owner, and they didn't do it. Again, I'm fine. I think either way with this condition because it sounds like it's regardless if we were to take out and maintain or not. It doesn't sound like it's adding or subtracting what the city views as the obligation of the property owner.
I agree with you 100%. It has nothing to do with the project in that sense. But I'm just saying that it starts getting messy when a bunch of people are supposed to be doing the same things because two people think alike. Normally, if a property is abandoned, the city will step in, take care of the problem, and when the new owner buys the property, has to satisfy that obligation. That's what code enforcement does. I suspect, though, these trees were the responsibility of the city of West Palm Beach. And because there was no occupant of that property, they just left them dead.
Ms. Barlow has a question.
Just a comment. Well, I thank everyone's participation in what's under consideration and what Mr. Wood shared, but I don't think that's what's before us right now if we're wrapping up executive discussion about what was or wasn't done in the past. But we do have this opportunity before us right now.
Agreed. Are there any further comments by the board?
Mr. Chair, Mike Hyman. It's interesting. I looked at this and I say to myself, if we've got a cross-access easement, why is this here at all to begin with in the first case? But knowing that we're here on the issue that we're talking about, I think it's dangerous. It's a dangerous scenario to tell a property owner that they need to maintain unless we've got a set of standards that everybody's maintaining by. And I guess I would ask John, for the Royal Palms, which are a sensitive tree, is there a set of specifications for maintenance that a property owner is expected to follow for that maintenance?
John, you hear me?
Yeah, actually, Angela Van, Planning and Zoning Administrator, has been added in as a panelist to speak on this, but she can add in some additional information. Angela, go ahead.
Yes, I'm here, and I'm actually going to turn it over to Ray, who's our landscape planner. He can answer your guys' questions about the trees and maintenance.
Yeah, good afternoon, everybody.
Hope, I believe you have to swear them in.
Oh, thank you.
Can't see me, but.
I can't see them.
His hands up.
My hands up.
Yeah, our hands are up.
Do you all solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
We do.
We do.
Thank you.
Okay, Ray Caranci, the landscape planner. This is a code section that was added in 2018, which requires roadway beautification and maintenance adjacent to projects that are being developed. It is required now. In this case, it's a county right-of-way, and the city has the maintenance agreement or the maintenance responsibility given by the county to maintain the landscaping and the irrigation in the right-of-way. That is done by our parks operations, parks maintenance crews that take care of that. And it is a very lean maintenance schedule as far as mowing the grass, and the Royal Palms, really nothing is really done with them other than cleanup of the fronds that are dropping. They have plenty of space there to grow, and they're a native palm, so they're the majority of them are doing pretty good. And then we do lose a few here and there, and then the city makes the effort to try to replace those of any that are damaged. But that is at a very minimal level. So in this case, when a new project comes in, the code requirement is triggered to, if possible, beautify the road right of way adjacent to their project to become part and then be maintained as part of their project. In this case, because it's a county road, we're not really adding anything, and it's just going to be basically a maintenance responsibility. But we are asking the applicant to replace the missing palms that are there. So this is the direction now, that when you see new development, that there will be an accompanying maintenance agreement for the right of way adjacent to that project, to turn that maintenance over to that property owner and give that responsibility to them. And actually, I think that results in better maintenance because it is a direct responsibility and we can enforce that.
Thank you. And the applicant is in agreement with this and is aware of this?
Yes, sir. We're agreeable with either way that your board prefers.
Okay, John, are there any other comments?
We have not received any public comments, no.
Okay, if that's being the case, is someone ready to make a motion? Chris, it sounds like you.
Sure.
Yeah, Christopher.
I'll be happy to do that. I move that the Zoning Board of Appeals grant application number 3383, a request by Harvey E. Oyer III of Schutz and Bowen LLP, the agent, on behalf of 1225 Palm Beach Lakes Land Trust / Arsali LLC Trust, the applicant, for a variance from section 94-443B1 of the city's zoning and land development regulations to allow the relocation of a landscape throughout the site where a 5-foot wide landscape buffer is required. The motion is based upon the testimony presented, along with the application submitted in the staff report, which constitute competent, substantial evidence. The board hereby makes findings of fact that each of the criteria in Article 2, Section 94-38D6 of the City of West Palm Beach zoning and land development regulations have been met. In addition, the granting the variance is made conditional upon the following restrictions, stipulations, and/or safeguards that I move are necessary to ensure compliance with the purpose and intent of the zoning and land development regulations and consistent with the comprehensive plan of the City of West Palm Beach. 1, provide a letter of support from the adjacent property owner demonstrating support for continued share access and parking agreement. 2, relocation of the 8 shade trees and hedges that are required on the east buffer. And 3, replace and maintain the palm trees located along Palm Beach Lakes Boulevard adjacent to the property.
I second.
Thank you. Having been properly moved in second, will the secretary please call the 5 voting members roll?
Michael Hyman,
I'm in favor.
Christopher Kemmerer,
Christopher, you have to unmute yourself, please.
In favor.
Malika Barlow,
In favor, yes, or
Christopher Hagan,
Aye.
James Carmen.
Yes. Motion passes. Thank you.
congratulations.
Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Are there any administrative appeals?
No, there are not, Mr. Chairman.
Any unfinished business?
No unfinished business.
Any new business?
No business, no new business either.
And I would like to apologize for my interruptions and disjointedness of this meeting. And hopefully we can do better next month.
Well, we certainly appreciate your persistence.
Does anyone have any other comments or anything to be said?
Well, I'll just tell you, I sit in on my kindergarten son's classroom Zoom meetings every morning, and don't worry, that disruption was nothing compared to what 18 kindergarten kids Zoom meeting is like. Let me tell you, you did a great job. So we get on and off.
Okay. Thank you. That's it then.
Move adjournment.
Everyone stay well.
Thank you, everybody.
Stay safe.
Hey, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Hope to see you.